Hello, good morning from me also. After this short break with boost of caffeine and some sugar, which was very important and needed for everyone, I'll try to, as briefly as possible, respecting the time, that it's very important we keep it and we even save some time for later discussions, to give you this overview about the project for which we're all gathered here today. Perhaps some of you are already familiar through our publications and our channels of dissemination about the project, because this is not the first time we talk about it. And actually, we have extensively reported on our aims, objectives, and project delivery so far in one of CAMOC reviews, the journal published by CAMOC every 3 months. But I think an overview is always important. So I'm here on behalf of this team of coordinators. Gege and Nicole could not have been here today, and they send their regards. I'll try to present the project in 7 key points, give you an overview of the mindset, how we reached to apply for the project to shape the aims and objectives of this project, what it's about, what we're trying to achieve, what is our network that we want, networks actually, plural, many networks that we would like to develop, how we are planning to do it, and we have already started delivering this project, what we have achieved so far. I'll present you the space of the project, the web platform that we have been developing, and will be our space for interaction and sharing knowledge. And of course, last but not least, this is the most important part of today's presentation, is how you can contribute to be part of this project. Because this project cannot be the project we dream of and envisage without everybody's participation. So the mindset, we can say a lot of things, and I think our keynote speakers have given this overview already. Societies, communities all over the world have been experiencing, again, an intensive flow of people going from one place to the other for different reasons. Migration has always been a human phenomenon and need. It's not only forced displacement, it's also a good thing to happen, to travel all over the world and exchange knowledge and experiences. Our key, say, question and challenge was phrased in this first bullet point, how the continued influx of migrants brings new challenges for contemporary cities. This is what we would like to research, and how migrants that settle in societies that get polarized, there is exclusion, there is creation of new resources, there are a lot of different aspects of this phenomenon. How all this creates the vitality and the diversity of today's global cities. We often use this word hyperdiversity, which makes our cities so unique. But we don't always know how our cities and citizens are adjusting to this increasing diversity. What are the cultural, political, economic processes and transformations that arise from these dynamics, and what is their impact on the identities of the different groups affected, both of those who migrate to a city and those who have lived there for all their lives. So we want to, let's say, satellite, bring into the microscope these kind of processes and transformations, and see how museums are engaging with these contemporary issues. Museums often, we say, are the safe spaces that create these interconnecting platforms that society is not easily delivering in everyday life. This is an interesting term, safe space, that is being used more and more, and also a part of political agenda. One of MPs in the UK, I think, recently has used this word. Of course, at the time, Brexit is also a major issue in the UK. It's interesting to see how politicians understand the safe space in museums. And we want to see these urban dynamics and how they require thoughtful engagement to allow museums to act as mediators of dialogues and places for a renewed kind of world citizenship. This is sort of our vision, our objectives. We want to look on how migrants and receiving populations are constantly making new forms of urbanism in the cities, reflected in cultural, geographical, political, and economic processes. And we aim to explore the roles museums can have in collecting, presenting, and collaborating in these processes. We have talked a lot about the social role of museums. This is not the first time, this is not only through this project, but the project aims to focus specifically on this migration issue and see the social role of museums through this lens. The scope, of course, is global, and this is the value of our own network. ICOM is a global network, and all our active partners, which you see in the screen in all the slides, CAMOC, that initiated the project, ICR, the Committee for Regional Museums, and CAM, the Association of Commonwealth Museums, are global networks. So this is our starting point. Our second starting point is that we want to focus on arrival cities because, of course, these are the deposits, the recipients of most of migrant flows. But this is, I think, a term that we will need to dig a bit more because not all arrival cities not all cities are arrival, but they act through migration in very interesting ways. I would bring the example of my own city, which is not an arrival city, but has a lot of refugees coming through with a perspective, with a wish to move forward to other countries within Europe. We want to explore the diversity of migration. This is, of course, a huge task and perhaps too ambitious. We discussed this a lot at the beginning, what type of migration we want to focus on. We are looking on specifically historic migration, or we are interested also in very contemporary issues that are now happening and create new aspects of this continuous phenomenon. And we figured out that we will start from the present to go to the past and return to the present and see how the future can be formed through these interactions. So, yes, we will be open to any different projects and different approaches as long as it fits the general objectives of our project. Therefore, we look for partnerships with museums, with migrant communities, with refugee communities, with local people, with authorities that have experiences on this subject and they would like to share them with us, like social workers in refugee camps. What we want to do is to share knowledge. We want to, on one side, use our network, and on the other side, really create a community, a huge global community, to share knowledge about these issues. And through this knowledge sharing, encourage museums to reflect on their ethical dilemmas about the subject, because there are many unresolved issues regarding migration, how we approach migration, and what are our ideological, let's say, starting points. We have discussed a little bit about that in Athens. I'll tell you further down what we have reached, what are our conclusions. And more than anything, we want to connect people and foster dialogue between diverse communities and transform our urban environment. So how we're going to do all these wonderful things? The internet is, of course, our way of communicating, and we thought that it would be fit to create a web platform for city museums and museum professionals to find relevant experiences, share knowledge, and discuss ethical and meaningful ways to engage with new urban dynamics and the diverse realities of arrival cities. But not in any way, not like a blog or a website that has a lot of interesting current issues. There are many blogs that cover these needs, and this is very good. But we wanted to do something different. We wanted to speak with a visual language, much more dynamic, use the video tool as our communication channel and reflection on these issues. So we will, as I will say further down, we will create, and we have already created some short films that would focus on best practices from museums on their projects, on different types of projects on migration. So we will be a resource for museum professionals and a hub to discuss all these different issues and offer different insights from various types of research, practical tools, and museums and migrants' own experiences, and facilitate exchange and mentoring opportunities between professionals. This is our other side of our project. Once I think we really built a very robust and interesting content that people would like to use and reflect on, and also collaborate, cooperate to create new content. What this platform can also offer is mentoring facilities, like reaching out professionals that are experienced on this field and be possible to talk with them. Because we have also discussed, and it's a reality more and more, that it's very important to meet, like we meet now here, but it's not easy as we grow bigger in the communities, and also as crises grow bigger all around the world. People would like to travel more, but it's not easy. So through this platform, we can create this unity and this encounter space for museum professionals. We have short and medium-term objectives and long-term objectives. I will not tire you on going through these one by one, because what we will offer you soon after this conference is a kit with all the interesting materials you need about the project and the guidelines that you need to know about how you can contribute to the project. Very detailed guidelines. I will talk about them in a moment, and you will see also our objectives. Networking, a word that has been used over and over, and I believe a lot on this. It's one of our principles in life. System theorists say that life has been built on networking, on cooperation, on living together. We have not built this life that we share through conflicts. So cooperation, networking is paramount, and this is just a panorama of our networks that we can use, and of course we can add more as the project develops. Our methodology, very briefly, you can see it here. We started by identifying our contributors. Of course, museum associations and museum institutions are our key contributors. And because they have been already delivering a lot of projects, we know about them, we wanted to make them even more visible through our platform. And also engage and know contributors' work more, and use some curatorial criteria, some criteria that would make their project be more visible and interesting to our audiences through the platform. So we developed some curatorial criteria for their projects, which I will talk a little bit about them, and some technical specifications. This is our first and very important phase of construction on building the platform that you will see in a moment. Then we started receiving content. We started receiving actually content even before building the platform, because as we were preparing our first inaugural workshop in Athens, we felt it was very important to have some good key examples, practical examples that we could discuss between us and think about them and take the next step based on already some delivered work. So we have already received content, which is brilliant, but we want much more. And as I said, we need, through these projects and through these videos, to refine our curatorial criteria and provide them with very clear language to our contributors. And we also want to identify content subgroups. evaluate the quality of their contributions. This is the last part of our work. This is a work in progress. We have not got to this stage yet fully. We have a lot of ideas, but we need to develop them further. So, as I said before, Museum Experiences is the first interesting project that we want to collect. We want to collect migrant experiences that either they are projects on themselves, separate of the museum projects, or inbuilt in the museum projects that we can project through the videos. We want also to create practical toolkits of how to do the videos and also how to do better projects with migrants. This is the idea. We collect the best practices, or we even collect practices that have failed, have not gone to the realization phase, or they have not delivered what exactly it was expected, because also we learn by failure. And interestingly, one of the last points in Trenchwatch, this American publication that is published every year, in the last one, 2017, the last point is that museums have to be open to learn through their failures, because we always want to deliver the best of the best, and we do, but it's also important to be more humble and understand our limitations. We want also to deliver webinars at some point, not immediately, but really use this platform as a way to communicate and limit our distances, our real physical distances in the world. So really, the bottom line is to create a contact zone, as museums are anyway, and also this contact zone supplemented with a lot of different resources that could be very interesting, like publications or other videos that are interesting to our project, newsletters, features in other publications, and so on. So, the first part is to create a collection of case studies that look like TED Talks, so small video projects, video films of testimonials by professionals from different museums presenting their projects on city making and migration. 5 minutes. 5 minutes is like a very, very, very short time, but it can include all the interesting bits that one needs to know. We want to include in these 5 minutes voices of migrant communities represented through these projects and the toolkits, as I said before. And also what we need to deliver is the possibility of other professionals, museum professionals, to talk with experts and create a bigger community beyond our own physical community when we meet. I said this. So the project, the methodology is based on collaboration, on flexibility, on fluidity. We learn by doing. We don't know everything. We had a kind of outline of ideas from the beginning, but we have realized that this is a big project with a lot of complexity, and we are open to follow this complexity and be flexible to change our mindsets if necessary. So we want to learn a lot and be stronger at the end. What we have done so far, through the project started in 2016. Of course, there was a history behind it. We applied for the project first time in 2014. It was not a successful application because we needed to be more specific on the deliveries and platform formation. So we redesigned the application in 2015, and then we succeeded. So, as I said before, you should never put yourself down when you fail once. The second time might be more successful and makes you better, to reflect better what you need to do. So 2016 started the project. The very first thing we felt need to do is to create a visual language and a visual identity. Not that is the most important part, but is a very important part to create a link through this. And between us. And we collaborate with a Dutch designer who gave us this brilliant logo of the project. We like it a lot, and we use it in different colors. So after the logo, of course, we had already set the engines to meet in physical way and discuss all the possibilities of the project in real time. The first inaugural meeting happened in February 2017 in Athens. Athens was chosen because of its interesting position in the world, the geopolitical situation of Athens, also because Greece was and still is in big crisis, financial and social, but also received a big population of refugees. 60,000 refugees are still in the country. So the idea was to bring museum professionals together with professionals from the field of working with refugees and migrant communities and talk together. That was really a very interesting experience and experiment in a way, because we always think about the psychology, this part of the projects, but I wonder how often we really strongly and closely relate to social workers who work with populations at risk. So the workshop in Athens was consisted in two parts. One part was by museum professionals, and the second part was by professionals who work in refugee camps, either psychologists or educators or social workers or social innovators in the city who initiated community centers working with migrant women. We exchanged a lot of ideas, and what you see here in very tiny little letters is just two print screens for me to remind you and to tell you that everything that is related to the Athens workshop is already published in CAMOC review. So I urge you to go online and read the full report because it gives you all the insight of the project and also what we did in Athens. What we finally managed to do through the first day of our intensive dialogues, because we had also working in teams, in small teams with different backgrounds, the participants, so mixed groups, diversity within the groups. We drafted a vision, a strategy, a vision, a strategy, and yes, the vision, the aims and objectives, and the strategies to work with migrant communities in city museums. So it's like an organic text that was co-created by all the participants of the workshop. We were 60 participants from, I think, 17 different countries. So it was quite an achievement within one day to manage to reach to this final one-page text. Here you see just some of the interactions in the photographs. The first day was inside a museum and we talked a lot. The second day was visiting several sites in the city. One of them was, as I said before, a community center with the name Melissa, which means in Greek beehive. Beehive, it's a symbolic reference to how a community can be, especially with migrant women in Greece. They are doing a brilliant job. It's an NGO with a lot of funding from abroad and a lot of investment from their own selves. Here we are. After Athens, we did a lot of other things. We have progressed a lot working on the web platform, which you will soon be able to also navigate. We don't have online, we don't have Wi-Fi here, so I will just go through the platform quickly to give you an idea. Can you see well? The lights are on, so I don't know if it's clear, the image. The platform is, the platform, when you land, when you get into the platform, the landing space looks like this. It has on the menu several sub-menus. The About is about the project and about the partners. which, as I said before, are all international committees. And then we have the case studies, which is the space where we can upload all the projects, all the video projects of our partners. So you see the collection that we have so far. It's not easy to upload big files of videos. It looks very interesting and appealing, but it has a lot of background work. So we have so far these videos, and some of them we will be able to see later this afternoon. When we open one of the files of the video, we see more details about the visual content and a very brief description of the project, the partner, the aim of the project, and there will be a possibility to create a lot of different taggings for the project, because this is very important for us to create categories and subcategories of activities which we can use in a big index eventually and find relevant experiences. We have a menu, in the menu we have a space for experts, as I said before, because we want to be a mentoring space and create a big platform with many professionals from all over the world with their brief CV and professional expertise, what they could offer to other museum professionals in this specific context. And we have resources. In the resources part, so far we have uploaded all the videos we have from previous workshops. The previous workshops on this subject, of course, was the workshop in Athens, as I said before, and all the 17 different videos have been uploaded from speakers and from our teamwork. And also another workshop we organized in 2015 in Glasgow. So a lot of interesting material there to watch. And then we have the collections. The collections is another side of our project, which is potentially extremely interesting. We encourage professionals, museum professionals, to share with us images of objects that they think they are important to narrate the history of migration in their museums. It can be just one object with one image, and of course text that we want to give the story behind the object. Our objective is eventually to create a big online collection of migration objects and see how through these objects that are very different, the microphone, they are very different, we can understand migration in a global perspective. So this is still at the very beginning, and what goes under this section in the collections is a very interesting project organized by the Rotterdam Museum. We have a short video later on to share with you, which is a collaboration with the community, women's community in Rotterdam, and their clothing. So it's a very interesting coincidence that we have this exhibition here in this very room with clothes from Iran, from this kind of perspective, this kind of projects that can create a lot of interesting interactions with communities. I'm sorry you cannot see very well what is in the website. It would have been very different, but I'm finishing. And then we have news. The news section will be always feeding itself with more news. And of course, this is all what I show to you is work that we can create together. It's not something that we will create only ourselves without your help. And I come to this last part of the presentation, which is very important. Your collaborations, your contributions, we need them, because the platform without you will not be as rich as, and interesting as we would like. And your collaboration could start with the film, the short film for the platform, as I said before. And we don't want to be a film that is professional. We don't want you to spend money for creating a very Hollywood-style film. All the films that you will see later on have been house-produced, self-produced with very minimal tools. Just be creative, and we are museum professionals and we can be very creative. So these are the steps that we can follow and they were prepared, sketched by Nicole from Rotterdam, who has already delivered 2 films, and so these guidelines are based from her own experience and her own perhaps little difficulties in producing the films. So they're very valuable tips to follow. The first is tell us about your museum initiative, your vision towards city making, and about the project. It doesn't need to be everything about the project. You can be a specific subject, a specific perspective of the project that you would like to focus on in these 5 minutes. And what issues of migration is the project focusing on, which is our theme. The second tip is how to capture stories and participation approaches. How the museum project is engaging with concerned communities and how these communities are participating. We want to see how this interaction takes place, how it happens and how it's successful. And what are the ethical and methodological approaches that are used for this process, and what you have learned from them. Be honest. We want to have honest, clear, and interesting ideas about your projects, not academic papers, something really very dynamic. Third, sharing knowledge and fostering dialogue. How is the museum project sharing this process and its results with visitors and concerned communities? Because this is, at the end, what museums are always accountable for, how these productions get to the communities and what are the social values from these productions. How is the museum capturing their feedback and how is it using it afterwards? So the evaluation is one thing that we would like you to consider in these productions. And the final message, which is like a short epilogue, kind of a synthesis of your experience through this project. What do your museum project members consider to be the most important learning from this project? What have you learned? And what do you believe in? What are your values? What are your ideas? And what are your inspirations? Believe me, this can be a powerful message for many museums around the world that are willing and very interested to do projects, but they don't know how to start creating a participatory project. So you will see, we will distribute these guidelines to you because they are also visually very interesting and very appealing. Nicole has created these kind of sketches, cartoons type of sketches to help you go through the guidelines. And we have already created the kit to share with you. So I'm here for you for any questions later on if you need to understand better some of the aspects of the project. Thank you very much for your attention.